also want to go across to N.K. Singh, former Chairman, Finance Commission of India, joining us. Mr. Singh, thanks a lot for your first reactions. The big focus is, of course, job creation, employment and skilling. In that, is there some sort of an acceptance that this is the biggest challenge that the Indian economy has been facing?
Well, certainly it's a very important challenge, which you point out. But I would look at the entire budget from a couple of other points of view. First and foremost, I look at it that this is a very credible attempt to combine high rates of economic growth with continuation of overall macroeconomic stability.
Okay.
You know that not many countries in the world have achieved this. We are in the region of 7.7% plus rate of growth. The economic survey places it between 6.5 to 7, with the upside more likely, along with a very credible roadmap on reducing a fiscal deficit and of overall debt to GDP, which has a multiplier circled in terms of continuation of a favorable credit rating and also a possible upgrade, and from the viewpoint of assuring investors on India's long-term macroeconomic stability with high rates of economic growth. So that's the first point I want to make.
Okay.
The second point I want to make is that it's a very credible attempt on deeper rationalization of the entire taxation framework in multiple ways. First of all, there's a commitment that on the indirect taxes, on GST, there will be further work on rationalization of the tax rates and improving the culture on compliance, which has already shown some very positive signs. Along with this, on the customs duty, the issues of inverted duty structure have been very credibly addressed in this budget, which was one of the things which was expected. On the direct tax side, there is now a very definite commitment that the new tax framework, a group is working on it. We had one earlier, but that has become a bit obsolete in terms of the changes subsequently and in terms of the overall change in both the geopolitics of it and India's own growth story, that there will be a new blueprint for a direct tax core in the next 6 months or so, which hopefully will be then reflected in the next big budget of the finance minister.
Okay.
Along with this, the tax rates have been further recalibrated, the tax break has been increased, and at every part on the slab, there has been a benefit to the average taxpayer, which should have multiplier effects on the consumption cycle, and modest rates of taxation really lead to long-term certainty in terms of investment decisions. Finally, I think that there are on the tax side, the cut in the corporate tax rate aligns really our taxation structure with global norms, and India will enable India to become a competitive investment destination. And hopefully, in terms of direct foreign investment, this is going to have some gainful multiplier effects. The fourth important thing, and I'll end with fourth and the fifth, fourth important thing which I want to focus on is that it is undoubtedly true that the issue of gainful employment, particularly to India's youth, is a very big challenge for us. We have now the world's largest demography. We are 1.4 billion people. The age dependency ratio is falling rapidly, where we can have a demographic advantage. The new schemes which have been introduced for internship, apprenticeship, giving a stake to employers as well as to government. But little things like the first responsibility for the first payment will be taken by the government, will, I think, have virtuous circles for gainful job creation. Because do not forget that India is unique in terms of facing a challenge, which is a global challenge, of how to adopt rapidly the changing technology. We are inevitably moving towards an era of artificial intelligence, and that the international examples show, can be not job creating but job displacing. So taking credible steps that while remaining on the technology curve and remaining on the frontiers of the technology curve, we continue to create gainful employment opportunities. Some of the steps which have been outlined are really far-reaching. Couple this with the far-reaching changes in agriculture, in terms of agricultural practices, becoming completely self-sufficient in terms of lentils, proteins, crop diversification, modalities for improving farmer incomes, which will improve the consumption power of the farmers. Along with this, therefore, if you combine the gainful opportunities for job, not only in the manufacturing, through skilling, apprenticeship, but along with the opportunities being created in both the services and most importantly, the agricultural sector. This will give major thrust to employment. Finally, I think that India is one of the biggest challenges is that how to remain compliant, how to remain credible to an initiative which the Prime Minister had taken. One of the persons who were really the founding pillar of the Global Solar Alliance and a resilient infrastructure, climate resilient infrastructure, continuing our focus on ensuring that on the climate and the orderly transition to an era of renewable energy, moving away from fossil fuel, this budget outlines some very far-reaching decisions. So, add up all this, I would say this budget is a very, very decisive step towards the realization of our quest of making India a developed economy by 2047.
Yes, the targets have been very clearly set by the Narendra Modi-led government over the last 10 years. Plus, of course, he talks about a vision till 2047. But Mr. Singh, I do want to ask you this, and because these questions will come up, they're already coming up. So it will be interesting to have your perspective on this because you're the expert here. The criticism has been that a lot of schemes have been announced over the last 10 years. The impact hasn't kicked in. Would you agree with that? And if that is the case, then why do you think that is still happening?
Let me put it this way to you. I do not agree that the impact is not visible. How many countries have achieved, if I may ask you, the credible record of sustaining a very high rate of economic growth with macroeconomic stability? And this is really, internationally, if you look at it, all international entities, the International Monetary Fund, the Asian Development Bank, the World Bank, are crediting India as the global bright spot of growth. How many countries have wiped out abject poverty in such a significant way, both rural and urban abject poverty, by a staggering number of people who have been pulled out of abject poverty and are now above the poverty line. No doubt the poverty line needs to be redefined, but that's another matter. But the fact remains that I think that when people say that a lot of schemes have been announced, but very little has been translated, yes, certainly quality of implementation is a constant challenge. But the ability of this government to change the quality of expenditure, which means the quality of the schemes, moving more and more to capital expenditure instead of revenue expenditure, is a very important factor which will make India infrastructure, cost efficiency and dependability and reliability of its economy a very important bright point in the medium term and foreseeable future.
Okay.
And enhance its export capability alongside it.
So just to expand on the question I'm asking, you don't agree with the kind of lived reality that is being talked about by, those that may be in opposition or otherwise, that, a lot of these things sound very nice, but there is rural distress. We've been talking about the private sector not kicking in their investment cycle for many, many years, pre-COVID, mind you. And then we've been talking about the skill gap that India has been struggling to fulfill. So would you agree that these do continue to be the pain points? And this is where the government has been putting a lot of its thrust. But its critics say the results are not forthcoming.
So, it is always aspirational to say that the results and outcomes could have been somewhat significantly better with improved quality. But I think that in this budget and in some of the comments which I have made, I have sought to address the issue that
Okay.
we have made very decisive forward-looking changes, and they need to be factored without in any way minimizing that improving the quality of implementation and improving employment opportunities and seeking to harmonize the benefits of growth with the benefits of employment creation, with the adoption of the cutting edge of technology, while gainful employment consistent with our demographic profile is an ongoing challenge. And this budget is commendable because it seeks to address some of those challenges in a credible way.
I do thank you for your time. N.K. Singh, former Chairman, Finance Commission, India. A big thanks for joining us here on CNN News 18.